Welcome to the Mass Production Band Talkcast. We want to thank everybody for joining us. So, go get chilled on whatever it is that you get chilled on. Sit back, listen, and enjoy because we are fired up and ready to go. Thank you. And we have with us today the legendary, the group, Black Ivory. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, y'all. You in the bed, you can go.
Hey, you guys. How you doing today? My name is Russell Patterson.
Hi, I'm Stuart Bascom.
And Stuart, I'm Tyrone.
Hi, Tyrone.
And I'm Laraj.
Hello,
All right, Raj. Lee Coy.
Hey, Coy.
Pleased to meet you guys. All right.
How's everybody? How's everybody?
Yeah, it's great having you guys on, man. You know,
Definitely.
and
Thank you.
I'm looking at this now, and I was reading some things about you guys. You're so close with us because it seems like your seeds for Black Ivory was started in 1969. The seeds for our group was started in 1969. And you guys did some over the phone interviewing and stuff like that. That's exactly what we did. Over the phone's interviewing, and actually LaCoy and myself, I guess, I don't know. We were in junior high school or something like that, I guess. And playing some stuff each other over the phone, you know, because we can't do what we doing now. The way we can do that, we can't do like we didn't have to worry about no interfaces like we were talking about before and whatnot. You know, the only thing you can do, you can walk to them or you can call them on the phone. That was it.
Yeah.
You know,
Send them a cassette.
Oh, send them a cassette, right?
Well, actually, cassettes weren't invented yet.
In 69, sure.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, I wish Leroy was here at the moment because when I first joined the group and Leroy and I first started writing together, one of the things we used to do, I lived in an apartment building, a high-rise apartment building, with the long hallways and the stairwells and everything. So one of the things we used to do after we wrote a song, we would take two portable cassette players that had the speakers built into them. We would go into the hallway and we would sing two-part harmony to the song that we were doing. And we would record that on the cassette. Then we would play that cassette and sing two more parts while that was playing and record it on the second cassette player. And we did dirty bounces like that back and forth. So we did have the opportunity to use cassettes back then. We didn't have any videotape, that's for sure.
No. And from what you're saying back then, even a multi-track, because when we started with this stuff, we had like 8-track. That was the big. 8-track Ampex machine. You know, that was the big thing.
You mean in the studio, or you had it personally? Because if you had it personally,
in the studio. No, in the studio.
Right. The first,
you know, you can.
The first personal multi-track I was able to use at home was the TAC 3340S, which was a 4-track simul-sync where you can record on 3 tracks, bounce them over to the 4th track, and then now you have a composite on the 4th track, and then you add other stuff to tracks, you know, the other 2 tracks, and then bounce it over. So you were able to do a little bit of something. That was the only thing you had at home, you know.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you know, and you had to keep track of that because you couldn't bounce adjacent tracks, like you saying. So you had to
bounce it to a track. Bounce it to adjacent tracks were always a problem because you always had leakage.
Always had leakage, man.
And if you ever used anything like the Tascam Porta Studio, that was a 4-track cassette multi-track, you know, you really had to be had problem with leakage because the width of the tape was so small.
Yeah, we all originally from Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, we at different places now. Like Russell was saying, he's in New York now. And where are you located at, Stuart?
I'm in Galloway, New Jersey. South Jersey, about 20 minutes from Atlantic City.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So when we moved to New Jersey, you know, going through all our contract stuff, we were fortunate enough to get a 24-track Tascam. You know,
Okay.
the big machine they had.
Right,
you know?
right.
It was this. I like tape. I really do. I like digital for the recording and stuff like that. But for tape, I learned a lot more working on those machines in the studios back then. Then I guess kids can. I shouldn't say kids. When the musicians and all learning now, you know, because when you learn it, it's like when you're learning stuff from a computer standpoint. I was a computer guy, so you have to learn stuff from the very beginning. You know, you don't know nothing about patching over stuff like that, like we used to do. And
Right.
This is different.
Yeah, you know, trying to get the echo right and
It's
all
a different paradigm now.
Yeah, man, it's different.
It's a lot easier in some respects, and it's also, you know, has its own difficulties. Russ, I think when we first started recording, I think we were using 16-track machines, right, in the studio.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I do not remember none of that stuff.
Yeah,
I do remember the 4-track when we would do like 1 track and then have to turn it up.
Right.
But yeah, I don't remember the first studio. You mean with the big boards? The studios with the big boards?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. I thought it was always 24.
No. I think it was 16 at first, not that early. I mean, we eventually moved to 24.
Okay.
You know? And I'm not even sure if we got to 48 by the time we stopped recording.
Yeah, I was just so happy to be in the studio. I could care less what that.
See, now, Russell, you sound like Russell, you sound like me, because I'm the one in the group that, you know, that's like, I'm the same way. It's like, you know, I'm just there, happy to be there. I mean, I go do my part. Other than that, you know, all
Show
those
me
guys,
the mic.
they were always around the board, you know, doing knobs and faders and so forth. I'm just sitting back.
Yeah, I was overwhelmed by that board with all the knobs. I'm like, how the hell know which knob to turn at any given moment?
It was a little intimidating for me.
Yeah.
At first. Yeah.
You know,
but you know, switching up a little bit. So you just want to ask you guys. So how did you get the name Black Ivory? You know, where did that come about?
That's Stewart's thing.
Well, the group was originally named the Mellow Souls. You know, when I first joined the group. It was a group that had already been started by 3 high school students out of Powell Memorial High School in New York. Larry Newkirk, Vito Ramirez, and Michael Green. Leroy and Larry, they worked in the same summer program. You know, back then in New York, you would have programs during the summer for teenagers to work, you know, and usually work with youth. And during that time, you know, there was a radio on, and Leroy started singing, you know, to the song that was on the radio, and Larry heard him and invited him to join the group that he had already started with his 2 other classmates. Larry lived in the building next to me, and we used to go to the swimming pool during the summer and, you know, hang out there all day. And one day he's leaving the pool early, and I said, well, Larry, where are you going? He says, well, I got to go to rehearsal. I said, rehearsal for what? He said, I got a singing group. Now, I had been trying for years from the time I was younger, you know, to form some type of singing group, you know, because I was enamored with the songs that I would hear on the radio by people like, you know, Lil Anthony, the Imperials, things like that, you know, great inspiration for us. So, so I said, well, you mind if I come along, you know, to the rehearsal? So I went, and Leroy was there. It had probably been about a week, maybe 2 weeks after Leroy had hooked up with them. And they let me join in and sing along with the rehearsal. So then they asked me to join the group. So it was 5 of us then. Leroy had a sister that was close friends with Patrick Adams.
Patrick, that's my man, Patrick. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Right. So they made arrangements for Patrick to come by, you know, to see our rehearsal, but Patrick couldn't make it that day. So they decided to get on the phone, and we sang what we had practiced already over the phone for Patrick, and he liked what he heard. So he invited us down to start practicing with him at a public school in Harlem, PS 92. on 134th Street. So we started working with him, the five of us around the piano. Patrick would play some popular songs and then started working on some songs that he had written. And after a while, he thought that 5 people was more than he wanted to work with at the time. So one of the original members, Michael Green, ended up leaving the group. So then it was 4 of us: Leroy, myself, Larry Newkirk, and Vito Ramirez. Froyland's his real name. One day, Patrick called me on the phone and says, I think you guys need a better name than the Mellow Souls. Said, right, so
that sounds like Pat.
So he and I, both got dictionaries out, and we're on the phone and we're going through the dictionary, pairing up adjectives with nouns and just throwing stuff together. And at one point he said Black Ivory, and it just rang a bell immediately for me. So we presented that idea to the other guys, and they loved it. And that's how we got the name Black Ivory. Now, what the meaning behind it is, it wasn't when we first came up with it, there was no real, we didn't put it together and say, well, this means this, because, Black Ivory has some connotations to slavery.
Exactly.
Right.
Precious.
It could have had some relevance to the fact that we were sort of like an interracial group. At the time, we had a Hispanic guy, we had 2 light-skinned guys, and the dark-skinned brother. So, you could just say that it meant that. But it really, even though all of those things fit in, none of that was the genesis for the choice of the name.
I thought you were Hispanic.
I got a little bit of everything in me, mostly African DNA, but,
okay.
Other stuff there. There's my relatives from the islands,
Caribbean,
Barbados.
All right, cool.
And there's De La Vega's in there, and
what's a De La Vega?
Sephardic, actually.
Oh,
we have Scottish from on my great grandfather and great grandfather side on both sides, but then they were also had children with women who had Sephardic heritage, down in the islands also. My sister keeps saying, yeah, we got Sephardic. It doesn't even show up in the DNA, but she's been able to trace it in terms of, and that probably came from the Scotland area, but she's been able to trace it in terms of following the names, and one of the things that she said that the Sephardim kept great records of the lineage. And so that's how she was able to try to find some trace of it. But when I did my ancestry, I didn't see any of that stuff in there. It's mostly Nigerian, mostly Nigerian and Scottish.
Okay.
It's another parallel, so to speak, because I'm listening to how you say you came up with the name, and y'all were going through the book trying to find names and come up with something like that. We decided, I'm not gonna get into us a lot because this is about you, but we started out, we had 3 singers also, and then one at a time the singers went their way. We were called the Movements, and then the band went another way, and we didn't have a name also. And we started going through books and everything. So my brother took a Black Enterprise magazine, he threw it up in the air and said, whatever page that lands on, that's going to be our name. And it landed on the page about mass production.
Wow.
That's how we came up with that.
That's a great story too.
So it's like, the names and stuff, you go through them, how to get through it with it like that. I'm going to bring up some then and now right quick. Let me bring that up right quick. Man, welcome back. Every time I do that, it does that.
Now I want to ask a question because I have my speakers on. Are you guys hearing an echo from my
No.
my connection? All right.
You're good.
Good.
You're good.
Let me do that. Why come that does that every? Let me do it this way. It does it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does every time, man. Every time.
Well, we have them now, Todd. Do you see them?
You all see him?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see the picture.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That picture.
This is the group as it stands right now, right? Your original standing members.
Yes. Yeah. We are the only classic soul group still performing with all the original members.
Mm-hmm.
Over 50 years,
I like
54
those
years.
necklaces, man. I remember those.
Yeah,
I
nice
like
picture,
those.
nice. Yes, and that's a
Wakanda
nice clip.
forever.
Yeah.
And now you got this one, Lee.
Right.
Yeah. Still some great. Yes, I like those too.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, you didn't put up. I didn't see a picture change. If you were referring to something,
You didn't see another picture. You didn't see another.
No,
picture?
no. The one that's
No.
highlighted is the one with the three of us in
Black
in
background.
black background.
I didn't get that change either.
Nothing changed.
Whoa. I'm gonna get this down one day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hire technical help.
Y'all don't see a new picture there?
No,
No.
not
Which
yet.
one you trying to get? The old picture?
Yeah, I got that picture.
Yeah, and on the left in the it's still the picture with the black background that has highlighted also.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
need to
there you go.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big fro right there, right?
No, those aren't the big ones.
No, you're right about that. As a matter of fact, yeah, because they used to be bigger than that. I think y'all probably had next to Michael Jackson, y'all probably had the biggest afros out there, you know?
No, I think it was
the Silvers.
Yeah, the Silvers had the
The
biggest.
Silvers had huge afros.
Yeah.
See, because Larry, I don't think you were in the group at the time. But when I told you when we started out, we had like 3 guys in our group, 3 singers.
Yeah.
They came to us when I said, man, look, this group is coming to sing. And we got to go sing. We say, who? Black Ivory.
Yes.
You gotta go. You gotta go. And at the time, they didn't have a lot of venues, so it was at our junior high school had a really nice stage. So don't even know if you remember this because this is going back. This is going back story. But it was a Ruffner Junior High School, and we went to. You were actually the first group that we got to hear up and close.
Now, where was that? Where was
this?
that?
Was in Norfolk, Virginia.
In Norfolk,
Norfolk. Okay, I do remember performing at a school in Norfolk.
Right.
Most of the time we performed in Norfolk, it was at the Scope.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But we also did perform
at the arena. Y'all had to perform at the arena.
Yeah. What?
No.
The Scope?
Well, I don't think they
Scope.
performed at the arena. They did
at the time
Scope.
I'm talking about the Scope wasn't even built.
Okay.
It wasn't even built at that time. Right.
Then it must have been at the height. I mean, it was at the school. I do remember performing once at a school in Norfolk. I couldn't tell you what the name of it was.
It was Ruffner.
Ruffner.
I have to say, jumping in, you guys were very, very monumental in the career of mass production. Right. And it's really a pleasure. Yeah, it's really a pleasure to talk to you and to meet you.
Well, thank you. I mean, how did we influence you guys?
Well, as Tyrone just told you, you guys came to our junior high school at the time, and probably you were elementary kids at the time, but you were performing.
You had been a teenager yourself.
Yeah, we were all in high school. We were all in high school at the time when we started.
Right. Yeah.
We were in junior high school, and you guys came, and we said to ourselves that night, we can do this thing.
Right.
It was you that put that spark in our DNA. Thank you so much, guys.
If you listen, we was probably listening to the same records, seeing the same things.
Yeah.
It was the older guys that had been out there doing it, the older groups, like you said, the Platters, Lil Anthony, seeing those guys, the older guys, but to see somebody within our age group is out there doing it.
That was.
And it didn't get it, and it didn't hurt to see how the audience was reacting to you. The girls were going, wow.
Yeah, the girls, they love y'all.
They were going, wow, that didn't hurt
y'all.
you know.
Yes.
So it's like, you know what? We can try to do this now. You know, we can do this now.
I had a similar experience. 1967 is like my favorite year, all-time year in music. You know, if you go and you look at the hit records that came out in 1967, you know, you'll see it was like some phenomenal stuff came out that year. But that was the year that the 5 Stair Steps came out with Danger, She's a Stranger.
Right.
And seeing that family and falling in love with the song just really, you know, gave me the feeling and the hope that, you know, hey, if these young kids could do it, you know, maybe I can be doing this too. You know, I had always fantasized while listening to the radio and singing along with the radio to do the same thing. You know, but again, it was always, you know, always seemed to be older people, even though Little Anthony Imperials, when I was first listening to them, they weren't that much older. I mean, they were old, but they weren't really old themselves. Even though everybody looked older at that time. If you look at pictures of people like the Four Tops and Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, they look like
true.
But they were real young.
They were young too,
But when the 5 Stair Steps came out, you know, and sounded so good, I said, man, I want to do this, and this gives me hope that, you know, I may be able to get into this thing, you know, sooner than I expected. So I had the same experience, being inspired by other young performers. And then afterwards, you know, a couple of years after that, when the Jackson 5 emerged, you know, we were definitely
absolutely
inspired by it. Russell could probably tell you about about us trying to get into their shows and being
we used to be backstage after Apollo for a bunch of different acts. We were backstage for the 5 Stair Steps.
Yep.
We were backstage for the Jackson 5. But my Apollo thing was the Delphonics when I was in high school, and I went to see them. Well, I didn't go see them. I went to see Nancy Wilson at the Apollo, but they were the opening act, and they're the ones that were my inspiration.
Right.
As a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, you guys, you were like sort of like the genesis of the three-member singing act at that particular time, because the majority of that, there were either like 5 members or 4 members. And you guys, I remember being the first of the 3 acts, you know, three singing.
Right, it wasn't, usually was
right?
lead singer.
Well, actually, like Russell said, the Delphonics were one of the acts that that also had 3 members that were inspiration to us. But even before Russell joined the group, when we first were a 4-member group and we went out and we were singing, one of the songs that we used to open up with was Love on the Two-Way Street, which was by The Moments, which was another trio. You know, so you had the
main ingredient too.
Huh?
We used
main ingredients. That's right.
They came out before us.
Exactly true. That's right.
Right. So The Moments, the Delphonics, and then us, basically, I would say.
Well, main ingredients, don't forget them, because
main ingredients, right.
They were the first act we performed with when we went on tour with Gladys Knight. Was
right.
Night Nuts.
The main ingredient, you know.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, you can't forget the guys from the 50s. I mean, there was a bunch of 3-man group back then that probably influenced those guys.
Right, they come up.
Yeah.
We might have been the 3-man group.
Yeah, the Platters. You know, like, you know,
the Platters. I don't know if the Ink Spots was the Ink Spots.
The Ink Spots. Yeah, I think they were sort of like a 3-man group as well.
I'm not sure if they were.
I think it was the fact that we were younger. We were younger than anybody coming out that made us, you know,
more unique. Yeah.
Right. And so you had the group, the singing group era, and then it changed to the self-contained band, the bands and all started. You know, it changed a little bit. How do you guys like deal with that? How did you like that? Well,
the transition.
That was, you know, really going on right from the beginning. I mean, you know, talking about influential artists, you know, and groups, and another one of our influences in some of the ways we dress, not on stage, but in our public life, and And the music we listened to was Sly and the Family Stone.
Right.
You know, and they changed the face of music. You know, I don't really think they get the credit that they normally did, because I think they were largely responsible for some of Motown's change of direction in terms of the psychedelic music. When the Temptations came out, we started coming out with Psychedelic Shack, Cloud Nine. A lot of that had to do with the type of music that not just Sly and the Family Stone, but Sly and the Family Stone was so popular and so big, you know. But in addition to them, you know, you had a lot of the rock groups that were out there that were doing that type of stuff. But Sly and the Family Stone, they changed the face of music, both in terms of the way people dressed. You know, they were definitely a big influence on the 5 stair steps at the time.
Right.
You know? So, and also when you talk about self-contained bands and groups, one of the bands that was very instrumental in our beginnings was Kool and the Gang.
Kool and the Gang, same here with us.
Kool and the Gang. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Our manager, Patrick Adams, had recorded some songs on us when we were still 4 members, and he became a friend, an associate with Gene Red Jr., who was Kool and the Gang's manager.
Kool and the Gang's manager.
Yeah, we met Gene Red.
Yeah, Gene Red was starting a label called Red Coach Records, and Patrick Adams was trying to get us signed with them. So we went in the studio and recorded some songs. And in order to help promote the group, we started opening up for Kool and the Gang when they did a show. And a matter of fact, Kool and the Gang would actually play behind us while we came out on stage and performed 2 songs. We came,
that's pretty cool.
You know, and then after we finished, they would continue on with their set. But the songs
they didn't have a lead singer at the time, so they were basically a musical band.
Right, and they were instrumentals and stuff.
Right. The only lead singer they had was Rick.
Yeah.
You know, Rick was the main lead singer for them.
Rick West.
Rick West, yeah. You know, and he wasn't like a real vocalist, but the songs that they did have that featured vocals on them, a lead vocal, it was Rick West doing that stuff.
Right.
But and going back to the influences that are already mentioned, we would come out to the groove of "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself." Then we would go into "Everybody Is a Star" by Sly and the Family Stone, and we closed with "Love on a Two-Way Street," which featured Leroy Burgess falsetto vocals, you know, and that's part of one of the things that really propelled us, you know, to stardom, so to speak, because the girls went crazy. you know, with the young guys, young teenage guys up there, Leroy singing that high falsetto, you know. But that was so that was part of our genesis. You know, we're like really connected to, and this is before Kool and the Gang had their pop hits, got their lead singer and had their pop hits. They were mostly a funk jazz band at the time. And even though I appreciate the fact that they have an itinerary to this day, which fills up the calendar, you know, because of the pop hits that they had. You know, I really like the stuff that they did before.
So I would think everybody could hear me that time.